Hello, and welcome to the Power of Passive Investing. We have a very interesting guest today, Kaaren Hall. Kaaren is the owner of a self-directed IRA company, but I'll let Kaaren introduce herself. Kaaren, welcome, and please share with our audience a little bit about yourself.
I would love to. I have an unusual name and it's Kaaren. It's Karen with two A's. So I call it Karen with an attitude.
Love it, and I apologize. My
Oh,
name
hey, no,
messed
it's
up
fine.
all the time as well.
Every day. Yeah, no problem at all. No, I just am so grateful to be here talking to you today and teaching people about self-directed IRAs. And I founded UDirect IRA Services in 2009. And since then, we've helped thousands of people to direct their retirement out of Wall Street. And when the market is down, people really love being in alternative assets that are not market correlated. So that's a good thing. And we have like 1.2 billion under management at this point. So we have been just really fortunate and blessed to help lots and lots of people.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you for sharing your story. Curious, how did your journey start? Why did you decide to start UDirect?
Because I got fired.
Oh, that's a good reason to start the company.
Yeah, I worked for another self-directed IRA company, and they had some things going on over there, and I was released into the sea of opportunity. And at the time, single mom, two kids, mortgage, like, what am I going to do? So really the only way out was forward. And so I just step by step, went to the Secretary of State, opened an LLC, got an EIN, opened a bank account, got a website, and just one step after the other. 16 years later, here we are.
Incredible, such a journey, and kudos for making it happen for you and helping so many other investors with your company. I mean, self-directed IRA, I feel like it's a well-kept secret because most people think that the only investing opportunities available to them are on Wall Street, on the stock market. And as we know today, stock market, just like any other investment, of course, may show some surprises. So it's always good to have a well-balanced portfolio and diversify outside of stock market. So can you please share with our audience, for someone who is only investing on the stock market, how would they go about finding out about companies like yours, UDirect, and then finding out opportunities available to them?
Well, the best way to find out about self-directed IRAs is, to be curious and look and search. And that's why they're finding this podcast right now. Because if somebody, you're watching, you're listening, you're curious, you want to know more, you want to build your wealth, you want to find new ways, that's why you're here. And that's what we do. We help people take their retirement accounts from Wall Street and we say move it to Main Street because you can invest in houses and buildings, but also cryptocurrency and precious metals. I mean, I'm sure we'll get into that later, but you can invest in alternative assets using a self-directed IRA. And it's just so tremendously helpful because, like you say, you want to diversify your portfolio, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. That's very important. And I love how you put it, way that you guys help investors get from Wall Street to Main Street. Ironically enough, it's the name of my book, Your Legacy on Main Street, and that's what I talk about, how
Mm.
people can invest in alternative investments outside of Wall Street and diversify their portfolio. So that's really amazing. Karen, in terms of the asset classes, what can investors invest in? Or if it's easier, maybe talk about what they cannot invest in, if there are any restrictions.
Sure. I'll cover a little bit of territory here just to say that this is the 50th year of the IRA, the anniversary of the IRA.
Wow.
So it was Gerald Ford, who was a president then, who signed the ERISA laws into effect. That's the Employee Income Retirement Security Act, ERISA. And there you go. So 50 years ago, the IRA was created. And when it was created, the IRS said you can invest in anything except two things, and that's life insurance contracts and collectibles. Pretty easy. So ever since IRAs were created, you've been able to self-direct them. So when you go to the IRS's website, a self-directed IRA isn't a different thing to the IRS. It just holds different assets. the bucket of the IRA is the same regardless of what asset it holds. But companies like mine help you invest in alternative assets, and other fine companies help you invest in market correlated assets. So there you have a choice.
Got it. That's amazing. And thank you for sharing a little bit of history. I appreciate that. I did not know that. And honestly, I did not even know what ERISA stands for. So appreciate you sharing that as well. I think it's helpful to know the term. In terms of the investing, if someone decides to explore uh, how to invest in self-directed, how to invest in alternatives and want to start self-directed IRA, what is the process? Can you kind of walk us through the high-level steps of what would people do to
I
open?
like to say, oh, I would. I'm sorry. I'd love to explain this. I say that it's a three-step process, but I should start from really the very beginning, and that is learn about alternative assets. Do your due diligence, go to meetups, watch podcasts like this one and webinars and so forth, and educate yourself. Then, once you've done that, then it's an easy process to open an account, get it funded, and invest. Three steps: open, fund, invest. And then, just to sum it up here, all the proceeds from that asset that are due to the IRA go back in the IRA that owns that asset. And if there are any expenses, they're paid for by that IRA.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much. I've been using self-directed for years now, and of course, very happy with it. But from my knowledge, there are different types of self-directed. Would you care to explain again on a high level what are the difference between different self-directed IRA accounts?
Yeah, the accounts, there are many different accounts, and some are for those who are employees, and some are those from who are employers. Which is to say that the traditional and Roth IRA, really anyone can have a traditional Roth IRA. Um, then there are employer accounts like the SEP, the Simplified Employee Pension Account, which is for an employer, or a simple IRA. That's an acronym too. The Savings Incentive Match Plan for Employers. It's called Simple IRA because it is not simple. Makes sense? That's the
Yep.
government for you. So simple and SEP IRAs are for self-employed people. And then there's the solo 401k. A lot of times we work for a company, maybe we have a 401k there, and that's for an employer with lots of employees. But if you're a solopreneur, you have no full-time employees in any of the companies you own, you can have a solo 401k. It has lots of bells and whistles. It's a really great account. So
Yeah.
just to cover it all, it's a traditional, a Roth, a SEP, a simple, a spousal IRA, which you can have an IRA. Even if you don't have active income, you can still contribute to it as long as your spouse has active income. That's a spousal IRA. So traditional Roth, SEP simple, spousal, inherited. If someone passes away, you receive their IRA as a beneficiary. Also the solo 401k, and you can self-direct something called an HSA, a health savings account. And if you work for an employer who offers a high deductible health plan, an HDHP, high deductible health plan, then you could qualify for an HSA, a health savings account, and self-directed.
Incredible. And Karen, thank you for sharing so many terms. I feel like I'm in the military. I feel like
I
saying
know it's an
over
alphabet
and
soup. Well,
out.
it's the government.
Yep. Yeah. So many terms, and of course, it makes sense to learn and understand it first before anyone takes the first step and starts investing in alternatives.
Mhm.
Um, since you've been in the alternative space for quite a while now, have you seen some alternatives to be more prevalent than others? So people preferring one type of alternative over another, or disliking it, and so forth?
Yeah, definitely. Our industry-wide, the number one asset class would be the syndication. And what a syndication is, I mean, I'm sure your listeners know, but basically it's just an asset sponsor uses this to raise capital. They get approved by the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, to raise capital, and they do that using the vehicle of a syndication. Now, that's just a vehicle, but what the syndication is raising money for could be different asset classes like self-storage, multifamily building, commercial buildings, strip malls. I mean, what have you? Whatever people are going to be raising capital for, they raise it using often a syndication, and that is the number one asset class for our whole industry.
Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing. And in your experience, are there any obstacles for people that want to open self-directed? Like, are there any reasons why they wouldn't be able to open a self-directed account?
Well, really, no, because it has such a low barrier to entry. The only thing you need to do to have an IRA account is to have active income. That just means you have to have a job, or you're making active income somehow. Maybe you're flipping property or something. That's active. And if you don't know what active income is, ask your tax advisor or Google it, right? But as long as you have active income, you can contribute to an IRA, super low barrier to entry, all right? But if you're going to be a self-directed investor, you're usually a lot more sophisticated than that. You know, typically you've worked at other companies and you've rolled over your previous employer plans so that you have enough to invest in an alternative asset. For example, a syndication could be, you know, 25, 50, $100,000 or more at a pop. So you don't really achieve that amount of savings just by making your, you know, $7,000 a year traditional IRA contribution. Usually that comes from rolling over previous employer plans. So that means that you probably, you know, maybe a little older, maybe a little more sophisticated. And then that's when you get there and you're able to invest in alternative assets. So basically, as soon as you've got enough to pull the trigger on the asset that you want, you can self-direct.
Got it. Thank you for that.
Mhm.
Well, as we both know, the markets are going through some turmoil, and we're hearing about economic policy changes and some other changes that are going on in the economy in our nation and abroad as well. While I realize that you may not have a crystal ball, but what is your take on what's coming up next in this year and next 2 years for investors?
Yeah, I mean, like you say, we don't have a crystal ball, but I see, you know, I just see that the country is taking some medicine to get better. In my opinion, I think everyone has a different opinion, but you know, we'll find out. But I think uh, some of the things that are changing that are regardless of the situation is that you can take an old HSA, health savings account. I mean to say a 529 plan. Back that up. 529 plan. It's a state-sponsored plan to save for children's education. And if you've had that plan for 15 years, now you can move that money over to a Roth, okay? And you can do that up to the contribution limit. So you can move it, say 7,000 if you're under 50, 8,000 if you're 50 plus. So every year you can move some of that 529 plan into a Roth account. So that's something that's newer on the horizon. Doesn't have much to do with the economy. It's simply a new policy. But I think people with self-directed IRAs right now are super glad that they're not participating in this market volatility. For example, if your IRA owns a piece of real estate, you probably still collected your rent, you know, regardless of the market. So this is, again, back to your point about diversifying. This is why people love to diversify. But the future of self-directed IRAs, I normally, since I've been in the industry, both sides of the house, you know, the Democrats, the Republicans, conservatives, liberals, very, very supportive of saving for retirement, regardless. It's not a partisan issue. And that's good news for us because it means that there have been just really nothing has come along the way to damage or hurt retirement savers in the time that like 20 years that I've been in the industry. And in fact, every year contribution limits rise so that you can put more in and save more. So in the future, I think that we'll be encouraged to save even more for our retirement.
Amazing, amazing. Kaaren, I wanna, and I'm sorry if I butchered your name again. I tried to remember to say Kaaren,
It's okay. Yeah.
but my name is always butchered as well, so I'm used to that also, and can relate to your experience.
Yeah.
I want to spend a little bit more time on the new proposal you mentioned. You said it's a new law where you can transfer your 529 into Roth IRA. Would that be Roth IRA of the parent or the children?
the children.
Wow, that's interesting. And is this already been practiced or is this proposal at this point?
It's already been practiced. In fact, I'll share an article with you on that. And by the way, I can also point out, if you don't mind, that you can also read about it in my new book. So a
Oh,
little shameless
amazing.
plug
Yeah,
this
please
year.
show us again.
Here it is. It's The Bigger Pockets Guide to Self-Directed IRA Investing. This is a book that I wrote in collaboration with Bigger Pockets. I was just published this year in 2025, and it has that information. It has a lot of information. It's not a storybook; it's a guidebook, and it's a a factual book about how to self-direct, and it's really opened up a lot of doors for us, and also opened up a lot of minds to thinking about alternative assets. Now that there's a new generation coming up, I mean, there always is. We're not taught in school how to invest. We're not taught in school how to use an IRA, and we're certainly not taught how to self-direct. So
100%.
this is a great way to learn about different ways to become truly wealthy.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you for sharing that with our audience, and thanks for sharing the link to your book. I will be sure to share it with our audience. And folks, for those that are listening, not viewing us, the link to buy Karen's book is biggerpockets.com/SDIRA. I believe it's not case sensitive, so you can just
Correct.
SDIRA, that stands for self-directed IRA,
It does.
and you can access Karen's book. And Karen, congratulations on the book. Mine
Thank
was published last year, so it's still fresh in my mind. So I know the feeling. I know how you feel now. It's very exciting and
you.
it's
Yeah.
rewarding, especially when you have someone reach out to you and tell you, thank you for publishing your book and sharing your knowledge, because people simply don't know about these things. So it's incredible.
Yeah, it seems like a career goal for all of us just to, check that box that you wrote a book, especially when you become an expert in a field. So that's very gratifying and
It
you're
is
excited.
very gratifying, and knowing that you're helping other people and you're
Mhm.
making a positive impact is absolutely incredible. Any other secrets that nobody else knows, just like the one you mentioned about 529 being eligible to be converted to Roth?
Well, let's see. I think one of the secrets is that well, we can talk about it. It's not really a secret. There are rules when you self-direct.
Sure.
You can't just, and this is good to know because when you self-direct, you might think, well, I can do whatever I want, but there are rules. And so understanding the rules is not a secret, but not everybody knows it. There are things called prohibited transactions that you must steer away from because if you
Excellent.
don't, that little tax protected bubble of your IRA bursts and your IRA can become taxable to you with, excise taxes or penalties or something like that. So you don't want that. And this is why at UDirect, we provide a 20-minute free consultation to you. So talk to us about what you want to do. Tell us about your asset. What are your questions, but what mostly are you looking to invest in and how is that deal structured? And we'll listen to hear, hey, does it sound like a prohibited transaction? But of course, it is self-directed. So the responsibility for investing, making a good and wise investment decision lies entirely on the account holder. We're
Oh,
not marketing any assets to you. We're not telling you what to invest in. It is self-directed. And so you're making those decisions. And so the account holder has that responsibility. But we're here to help, and the book is here to help. And we have a whole staff here to help. So you don't feel like you have to go through it alone.
of course. Is there a quick way to summarize what would entail a prohibited transaction?
Yes, I would say when you are investing, ask yourself, is this arm's length? So is this transaction arm's? So in other words, can my IRA invest in a house I already own? Not arm's length. It's closely held, right?
Yep.
Can my IRA lend money to my child to go to college? Not arm's length. That's my child. So it's your ascendants and descendants, your parents and grandparents and their spouses, you and your spouse, children and grandchildren, right? Plus any 50-50 business partner or like any fiduciary to the duty to the deal, like a CPA or a realtor or something like that, or an attorney. Are disallowed parties. Keep arm's length from these people. That is the best rule of thumb to steer clear of committing a prohibited transaction.
Amazing. Love it. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah,
Karen, it has been amazing. Thank you for sharing so many
thank
great
you.
nuggets with our audience. We always ask If any of our listeners would like to reach out to you directly, what is the best way to find you?
Yeah. Go to email us at info at the letter U, udirectira.com, or our website, again, udirectira.com. And we'll be very happy to help you. You can schedule an appointment. You can email us. We can call us, whatever you like. And we're here to answer all your questions and help you self-direct.
Great, great, love it. And I love the name You Direct. It kind of speaks for itself, but I was wondering, how did you come up with that name for the
Yeah,
company?
well, think about like U-Haul. Like if you're going to rent a U-Haul, basically that says it all, doesn't it? It really, I wanted to come up with a name that describes what the company does. So
Yep,
with a U-Haul, you use the vehicle, you use the container, right? And then you pack it, you put your stuff in there, you haul it. Same
yep,
thing with the self-directed IRA. We give you the container for the IRA, but you're putting the assets in it, you're making the decisions, but we provide the container and the guidance. So there was that similarity, and it's
sure.
called self-directed. So it just seemed to really, just kind of fit.
Yeah, no, it definitely resonates and it makes perfect sense. So I absolutely love the name and love your brand with that. And
Thank you.
Karen, one last question, more of a personal question that we typically ask our interviewees is, how do you like to give back?
Oh, lots of ways. One of the things is I serve on the board of directors for the Council on Aging Southern California. And so I contribute to that. It's an amazing charity. It's does so much for seniors. And of course, being in the retirement industry, that's all near and dear to my heart.
Of course.
Also, I give back to my church generously because I think God blesses us to be a blessing. So since you asked,
Oh, I
that's
love
what I
that.
do. And just, if I can help, I like to help.
Amazing, amazing. Karen, thank you so much for this incredible interview. We really appreciate you coming on board and congratulations again on your book. And
Thank
folks,
you.
if you're interested to buy Karen's book, please go to biggerpockets.com/SDIRA to buy Karen's book. Thank you. And until next time, goodbye.
Thanks.